Your weekend escape just became a trap and checkout time is permanent. 5 true nightmares where paradise turned predatory. Cabins where the walls scratch back resorts that keep lost guests, lakes hiding teeth, and the fog attics with tenants who never left and campers welcomed by a host who never checks out. Did you really lock your cabin door last night?
The cabin in the woods. The guys had been hyped for this trip for months. 5 college buddies, Jason, Dylan, Marcus, Cole, and Tyler, piled into Jason's Jeep and headed deep into the Oregon wilderness. No cell service, no distractions, just a dope-ass cabin in the middle of nowhere. 3 days of drinking, poker, and 0 responsibilities. They should have stayed home. The cabin looked straight out of a damn postcard. Rustic wood beams, a stone fireplace, massive windows showing nothing but endless forest. The owner, some grizzled old dude named Harlan, handed them the keys with a grunt. Generators out back, firewood stacked, and listen close, boys. He leaned in, his breath reeking of chewing tobacco. Don't go outside after dark. Ain't animals you gotta worry about in these woods. Dylan laughed it off. Yeah, Bigfoot's gonna get us. Got it. Harlan didn't smile. At the first night, they got a fire going, cracked open drinks, and shot the shit for hours. Around 2 a.m., as the flames died down, they heard it. A slow, deliberate scritch, scritch, scritch against the window. Raccoon, Marcus said, shrugging. Then it came again, closer, louder. Jason shined his phone light at the glass. Nothing there. They told themselves it was the wind. They were wrong. At the second night, the air felt heavier, like the woods were pressing in on them. They kept the fire roaring, the whiskey flowing, trying to ignore the way the shadows seemed to move when they weren't looking. Then, bang, bang, bang. 3 heavy knocks shook the front door. The guys froze. The hell? Tyler grabbed a fire poker. They yanked the door open. Nothing. Just pitch black forest. That's when Cole noticed the deep gouges in the doorframe, like something had been clawing at it. At the third night, no one slept. The scratching came back, faster now, desperate, from every window at once. The knocks turned into pounding, like something was trying to break in. Then the power died. In the flickering firelight, Jason saw it first. A pale, gaunt face pressed against the glass. Sunken eyes. A mouth stretched too wide. Watching them. Holy shit. The thing screeched. A sound like nails on a chalkboard. And vanished. They bolted for the Jeep. The engine wouldn't start. The escape. They ran. Branches lashed at their faces as they crashed through the woods, the thing's guttural breathing right behind them. Somehow, they made it to the main road. A passing truck picked them up, their voices raw from screaming. When the cops went back, no cabin, just an overgrown clearing and a single, rotting doorframe covered in claw marks. The sheriff sighed. You boys are lucky. Harlan ain't owned that land in 30 years. Then who the hell gave us the keys? The cop's face went grim. Only one family ever lived out there. Went missing in '82. They say, sometimes they still try to invite folks inside. They still hear scratching at their windows. The Haunted Resort. Jake, Tyler, and Ryan needed a break after finals week, so they booked a guy's weekend at a luxury mountain resort in the Smokies. No parties, no drama, just hiking, poker, and total relaxation. But the place gave them chills from the moment they pulled up. The resort was way too empty massive lodge. The staff smiled, but their eyes stayed cold and watchful. The night manager, a hunched old dude with yellow teeth, leaned in as he handed them their keys. "Y'all ain't the first boys to stay here. Some checked in, just never left. They fist bumped and joked about ghost bros. But after midnight, no one was laughing." Ryan bolted upright at 2 a.m. Something was dragging itself down the hallway. The guys grabbed their phones, swung the door open. Nothing but icy air. Then the whispers started, garbled words like a radio left on in another room. "Get out, get out." The door slammed shut behind them. In the mirror, a skeletal face flashed over Ryan's reflection, just for a second. They noped the hell out at dawn. The clerk smirked as they sprinted to their jeep. "Told you. That's why we don't staff the night shift." Later, they Googled it. 12 disappearances since 1983. All dudes their age. And the old manager. He'd been dead since 1991. The remote Lakehouse. The guys had been talking about this trip for months. 5 college buddies escaping to a secluded lake house in northern Michigan. No cell service, no responsibilities. Just a weekend of fishing, drinks, and stupid campfire stories. The place was perfect. A rustic cabin right on the water, surrounded by nothing but dense, untouched forest. The rental was cheap. The view was killer. And they had the whole lake to themselves. But by the second night, they realized why no one else was around. The first day had been exactly what they'd hoped for. Grilling burgers, cracking open cold ones, jumping off the dock into the crisp lake water. Even when the sun went down, they kept the party going, blasting music from a battery-powered speaker, the woods swallowing the sound whole. It wasn't until after midnight, buzzed and restless, that someone suggested a swim. The moon was full, painting the lake in an eerie silver glow. The water was cold, but they didn't care. They were laughing, shoving each other under, acting like idiots. Then, mid-splash, Chris froze. "OMG, what that?" The others kept goofing off, but Chris's face had gone pale. He swore he'd seen something move under the water, something big. Not a fish, not a log, something that shouldn't be there. The guys razzed him at first. "Dude, you're wasted." But then Jake saw it too. A dark shape just beneath the surface, gliding silently past them. The laughter died. They turned to swim back to shore, only to realize the boat was gone. It had been tied to the dock. The rope was still there, frayed at the end like it had been chewed through. The water was dead calm. No wind, no current. The boat hadn't just drifted. It had vanished. Then the fog rolled in. It came fast, thick and unnatural, swallowing the lake in minutes. The guys could barely see their hands in front of their faces. The air turned heavy, like the mist itself was pressing down on them. They stumbled toward the dock, their hearts pounding, the water suddenly feeling wrong against their skin, like something was watching, waiting. They didn't sleep that night. They barricaded the doors, locked the windows, and took turns keeping watch. At dawn, the fog finally lifted, and that's when they found the blood, smeared across the dock, a torn piece of fabric, maybe from a shirt, snagged on a splintered board. The lake was searched. The cops dragged the water, but there was no boat, no body, no explanation. Weeks later, back home, they dug into the history of the lake. Turns out people had been disappearing there for decades. Swimmers, fishermen, Entire families who'd rented the same lake house and never checked out. The locals had a name for it, the drowning, a curse that dragged people under and never let them go. The guys never went back, but sometimes, when the air gets too still, when the water looks a little too dark, they remember the way the fog moved that night. Like it wasn't just fog, like it was something alive. The cabin's forgotten guest for Tyler and his friends. The weekend getaway to the old cabin in the mountains of Colorado was supposed to be a fun escape. They arrived on Friday afternoon, unpacked their bags, and made themselves at home in the rustic wooden cabin that had been in Tyler's family for generations. However, as night fell, the group noticed something strange. The cabin, though filled with all the essentials, had no working lights in the main living room. The light fixtures were old, the bulbs dim, and the electrical outlets seemed to be out of order. At first, it wasn't a big deal. They could just use flashlights and candles. But then, they started hearing footsteps in the attic above them. No one had been up there. Curiosity got the best of them, and they decided to investigate. When they opened the attic door, they were met with a musty, cobwebbed room filled with old furniture, boxes, and a dusty rocking chair. But the strange part, the rocking chair was moving, gently rocking back and forth as if someone had just gotten up from it. Then, they found a photo album. Inside, there were pictures of Tyler's grandparents, except one photograph, taken at the cabin in the 1950s, showed a man standing in the corner of the room, unseen by anyone else in the group. The photo was old, yellowed, but the man's face was impossible to ignore. Pale, gaunt, with dark, vacant eyes. That night, one of the friends woke up to find the figure from the photograph standing at the foot of her bed, staring at her. She screamed, but when the others rushed in, there was nothing. The next morning, they left the cabin early. Tyler's family was unaware of any history of strange occurrences at the cabin, but the feeling that they weren't alone there would linger with them forever. The stranger at the campsite, Tom and his friends, were excited about their weekend camping trip in the Adirondacks. They set up camp by a peaceful, quiet river, enjoying the solitude and beauty of nature. But everything changed when the man arrived. It was late afternoon when a strange figure appeared at their campsite. He was tall, unkempt, and disheveled, wearing ragged clothes and carrying a large old backpack. He approached the group slowly, staring at them with a peculiar intensity. At first, they thought he was just a hiker in need of help, but his behavior was off. He didn't ask for food or water. He simply stood there, watching them. After a long, uncomfortable silence, he spoke in a low, gravelly voice. "I was here before, but it wasn't like this." Confused, Tom tried to politely ask if he needed anything, but the man just kept staring, saying, "I was here before, and I'll be back. I always come back." The group grew uneasy. As the night wore on, the man just sat by their campfire, not speaking. His eyes never left them. Eventually, they decided to pack up and leave, but when they went to the trailhead, they found that all the paths were blocked by fallen trees and debris, as if someone had deliberately covered the way out. The man was gone by morning, but they could feel his presence lingering in the woods around them. Authorities were never able to find the man, but rumors circulated that there was an old hermit who once lived in the area, a man who had gone mad after years of isolation. It said he still haunts those woods, waiting for campers to enter and become part of his twisted game.